All know exercise is good for diabetes, but what is the ideal duration of doing exercise for diabetes? Hi, this is Dr. Venu, Yoga and Naturopathy consultant and a diabetes researcher. Fine. So generally what we tend to see is 45 minutes of exercise is sufficient to reduce risk of diabetes or for diabetes management or for reversal, whatever it is. What studies tell us is it is not only about the duration of exercise what we do as far as diabetes is concerned, but also how frequently we do exercise. That is what matters the most. We all know through muscle contraction, during exercises, muscle contraction helps in reducing insulin resistance, thereby helps in reducing blood sugar levels. Now what happens is, if you are ideally doing exercise in the morning, like say you're going for a morning walk or going to gym or wherever you're going, and for the rest of the day if you're doing nothing but to sit and watch television or even in a job if you're doing most of the sitting job, that actually increases your risk of diabetes. Why is it so? And what should be the frequency of doing your physical activities? Now what studies tell us is like every 2 hours of sitting, we should interrupt the sitting with at least 10 to 15 minutes of light physical activity. So that is the optimum level of physical activity and that is the optimum frequency of physical activity that has to be done to reduce the risk of diabetes. Ideally during our school days we would have seen like after the first 2 periods, like after the first 2 classes we have something called interval break for 10 minutes, and after the next 2 hours we'll be having a lunch break, and then after 2 more hours we'll be having an interval break, and after the last 2 hours kids run home. In my school luckily how the setup was, whenever there is an interval break or a lunch break, students everyone have to walk out of the classroom, stand in the ground or stand in the assembly, and then have to enter back into the class at the end of interval and lunch break. Now this beautiful habit, like only after coming into the field of diabetes research I came to know the importance and science behind it. Now prolonged sitting, generally not just with children but even at office, we tend to sit mostly in our chairs and it's all like desk job of late. Now what happens with that is, if you're sitting more than 2 hours continuously, that actually increases your risk of diabetes. It doesn't matter morning the amount or the intensity of physical activity you did in the morning, and it doesn't matter the amount of or the intensity of physical activity you're going to do after going back home at evening. What matters the most is the frequency, the exact intervals or the right intervals within which we are pacing out our physical activity throughout the day. Now, so what would be an ideal practice would be just going for a walk, like say 5 to 10 minutes of walk around the corridor, or just going out for a walk if possible. If not, the best exercise to do is stair climbing, especially post meal. Once you finish your breakfast, lunch and dinner, ideally after an hour or an hour and a half, what you can do is climb 50 stairs up and down, once after your breakfast, once after your lunch and once after your dinner. What studies have shown us, this actually helps in reducing your insulin resistance and thereby helps in not just in diabetes prevention, again for diabetes management and also for reversal, because this helps, the post-meal exercises help in reducing your postprandial sugar levels. Now, which plays a significant number as far as HbA1c levels are concerned. Postprandial sugar levels are directly proportional to HbA1c levels. So, actually, the exercises whatever you are doing after your meals matters the most. And second thing is, try to pace out your exercise or your physical activity after every 2 hours. At least 5 to 10 minutes of physical activity every 2 hours of sedentary sitting reduce your risk of diabetes and also helpful in diabetes management and reversal. Thank you.